my confidence is just like nobody can fuck with me. I mean, that's the mindset that I would have. Like, he may be a better athlete than me. He may be taller than me. He may be faster than me, but he's not going to stop me on this route on third down. That's the mindset that I'm going to have, like, going into it. And then you just have to have that complete confidence in yourself in order to go out there and have success.
Today, we are joined by an inspiring individual, someone who was labeled too short and too slow, but went on to have one of the steadiest careers and greatest Super Bowls of all time. Someone who was well respected by every human being he comes across and just does things the right way. Recently retired New England Patriot. Welcome to the show, James White.
Appreciate y'all having me, man.
Right,
y'all some of my idols, man, right here.
No, I think maybe Dre. I
You calling me old all the time. They already call me old on Twitter every day. Almost died dunking not too long ago. I heard it too. I heard it and felt it. Pop.
I'm like that annoying like partner. Every time he gets hurt, I'm like, look, yes, you ain't learning your lesson. Like every time you want to keep hooping, go ahead. They got you out there. I don't want to hear about the hip. Like, you know what I'm saying?
You getting that check, ain't nothing wrong with it.
We like to start every show with, an introduction of like, how'd you get here?
On a podcast. How you end up here?
Yeah.
On the podcast?
Yeah. On the podcast.
We had the same realtor, George Sarkis.
Yeah, George Sarkis.
So he well connected with a lot of the Celtics players. I know he's been helping a lot of Patriot players find houses and things of that nature. So he mentioned you guys had a podcast. I actually saw it on Instagram because I follow you on Instagram. I've seen like some of the clips and things of that nature. I'm like, for sure I'll go on that, and it all worked out. Man, I just got here like a few days ago, so just so happened to work out. So I'm on here now.
Appreciate it. And so, but the reason, is that the connections network of athletes, but, your success as an NFL player, and just walk us through your earliest memories of getting into your passion and what you felt, your first time you touched the football.
For me, I started playing football because my dad, my dad played in college, then played in the NFL. My brother played Little League, high school, things of that nature. Then, as a young kid, you emulate pretty much your family or people you see on TV. Just to see my brother go out there, practice hard, I wanted to be like them and playing Little League. And I was never the star during Little League and things of that nature. I was a good player, made the high school pretty similar. There's always guys who had a bigger name than me, more stars, all things of that nature. But I was always a solid player. Got to college, pretty similar. There's always star players in front of me playing. But I'm still competing, playing with the best of them. I got to Wisconsin my freshman year, didn't really know whether I was going to play my freshman year. Like the first game of the year, the running back coach was like, get in there. I get in there first play, I break it for like 20 yards. I think like right then and there I knew I could go out there and compete and play at the highest level, end up winning Big Ten Freshman of the Year. My second year, didn't really do shit, but Monty Ball was up for the Heisman that year, so I
was watching that.
Yeah, Monty Ball.
Kind of had to sit back. Yeah, so my sophomore year, he took over. He was up for the Heisman, and he had a big few seasons that year. He ended up getting drafted by the Broncos, and for me, even still throughout my entire career during college, I split time. Yep. Me and Melvin Gordon, he ended up getting drafted first round pick and things of that nature. So I was always competing with some of the best, and I think that's what allowed me to have so much success practicing and playing against some of the best guys, nationwide. And that allowed to, spark that fire within me, compete and kind of self-assess, see how I can get better, see how I can compete. And like I said, it was kind of similar. Get into the NFL. I got drafted 2014, only played in 3 games, a little cleanup duty at the end of the game. I was thinking I was going to get cut coming into the next year. Like, Bill signed like 7 other running backs, free agents. I'm like, oh, yeah, I see that writing on the wall right there. We got 7 running backs. The number's not adding up. So I came into that next season. I was like, had to really check myself, look myself in the mirror. If I want to play, I got to go out there and show them during practice, preseason. I got to show them that I could play. And then like the 4th preseason game of that year, usually like in the NFL, that 4th preseason game, only the guys that pretty much getting cut or people fighting for a roster spot play that game. And I was dressed for that game. Pretty much all the other running backs weren't dressed. Me and like some guy we pretty much just signed to like kind of give me a breath of fresh air like during the game. And LeGarrette Blount, because he was suspended for the first game. So it was just us 3 that played. So I was like, fuck it, I got to go out here and play hard. If they don't want me, somebody else will grab me. Ended up making the roster. Still didn't play till like the middle of the season when Deion Lewis got hurt. And then once that happened, I was I couldn't look back from there. You know, when you're not playing at the highest level and you get your opportunity, you want to make the most of it and kind of not turn back. And that's kind of like the story of my NFL career.
So you started off. I know you mentioned your father and your brother, so you're the youngest child, right?
Yep.
And Dre and I, we always talk about how much we benefit from being a younger child because obviously
older brothers. Jackasses.
Or they can be messing up, and at the end of the day, you're able to follow in footsteps and learn in the next step. Do you think when you're younger at that stage, you know, you talk about a bunch of resilience and humility throughout, you know, a sport that's so competitive. Do you think those early years are something that really helped you prepare for it? Because you skip over and say, I was never really good, but at the same time, you had the will and the know-how to stick with it and perform at the highest level.
Yeah, and I was blessed and fortunate enough. I always thank my parents because they were able to provide, you know, trainers and things of that nature. Like I know a lot of my friends growing up, I know they didn't necessarily have those type of things. So I always wanted to take advantage of that. Like I know my parents always did a great job of helping my friends, like on my team, whether it was getting them rides to games and things of that nature, or them staying at our house to get to a game, or us helping family members and things of that nature. So I always saw the other end of the spectrum, and I realized I couldn't take stuff for granted because I was getting more opportunities than most guys were. And I saw like some of the mistakes or things that my brother did that, you know, I felt like I could capitalize on the opportunity if I didn't make similar mistakes, if I just pushed myself. So I think that's the advantage of being a younger sibling as well, because even for parents, for the oldest sibling, it's their first time being a parent as well. So them going through that whole process of him playing sports and, you know, seeing what they could have done to maybe help him be a better football player, I feel like that helped me too. They're like, okay, we didn't, you know, push him or we didn't put him into this. Maybe we could do that with him, see if that'll help him. And I think that helped me out a lot.
And I want to talk about, you know, your father and, you know, sorry about your loss. I remember reading about that. You know, like I remember that moment. But just going back and reading about, you know, the values he instilled in you and your mother as well. You know, him being working for the police force, Miami-Dade police officer. And then I'm reading that, you know, I don't know what's happened in this new era. Like, they don't have chores. Like, they don't have no discipline. Like, what are y'all doing? So I just want you to really speak on, you know, the discipline and the routine and things you had to have done and how that's helped you become who you are today.
Definitely. Those chores every Saturday, cleaning the house, cutting the grass, you know, clean up your plate, wash dishes, all things of that nature, learning how to fold clothes, just giving you a sense of responsibility. I think that helped. You know, once you got to college, kind of being out on your own, you kind of get in a little routine for yourself, doing your own laundry, being able to cook or being able to provide for yourself, because that's when you really start to mature, especially being so far away from home. I wanted to get away from home, getting away from Florida. I wanted to experience something different and kind of challenge myself. And like I said, I was fortunate enough that my parents would be able to, you know, fly to games and things like that nature, so I didn't necessarily have to worry about that. And I know that impacts a lot of people in their college decision. They want to be close to home because, you know, their family can't travel. So I was lucky for that. But I'm always grateful for my parents. If you want anything, you have to work for it. If you want to be the best football player, you're going to have to put the work in. My dad playing like Little League baseball. We go to practice. You know, next day we're going to be out at the baseball field. He's hitting me ground balls or finding me a hitting coach. He's always pushing myself because he didn't have those same opportunities growing up. He had plenty of other siblings, and they couldn't get to, you know, all the different sporting events and trainers and all that because there's like 7 of them. So, you know, for him, he wanted to do whatever he could to help me be the best at whatever I could be at, whether it was studying for the SATs, give me a SAT prep teacher. He was going to do it all just to make sure, you know, I was on the right track. And obviously, if I didn't turn out to be anything, it probably was because I was sorry or I didn't I didn't push myself. So that's the way he kind of looked at it. And like I said, I just tried to capitalize on the opportunities that I got.
Yeah, so when you walked in, you know, coming from Wisconsin, being a 4th-round pick to the Patriots, one of the most storied franchises at the time, the opportunity of understanding, like, all right, as long as I got the opportunity to work hard, I know I'll be fine. Like, did that give you confidence, but also no expectations? Like, I'm just going to leave it on the table and whatever works. Like, I understand what's behind the door if I don't make the team. Because it didn't seem like you had any type of nerves or anything, like, going into there, and you leave there, you know, breaking a lot of records, Super Bowl records, and being a reason for the 2017, you know, win and comeback. I
definitely had a lot of nerves for sure, walking into that locker room, you know, how much success those guys had throughout their tenure with Tom Brady. You had guys like Darrelle Revis. You had, Brandon Brown or Shane Vereen, you had Julian Edelman, Rob Gronkowski, guys who had so much success, prior to me even stepping to the building. So you kind of walk in with a little bit of awe, a little bit of culture shock. And myself, I'm not really a talkative person, so I just kind of sit back and, kind of take on things. And I feel like my rookie year, I came in during OTAs, the off-season workouts. I had, like, pretty good OTAs. And in training camp and preseason games, I didn't really do shit. So that was kind of the reason I didn't really play my first year. I didn't really capitalize on the opportunities that I got at that point in time because I thought, you got drafted, you just going to go out there and play. You just show a little flash, but obviously they didn't have enough confidence in me to go out there and play because we actually had a running back go down my rookie year. It was like the third or fourth game of the year. And I remember Tom came into the locker room. He's like, James, we're going to need you. So right there, I'm thinking I'm about to suit up next week, ready to play, inactive like the next week. So
how do you feel when Tom was like, we need you?
Yeah,
like,
we're going to need you. Yeah. Like, I'm ready to go now. I'm locked in, and I still wasn't playing. So that was probably the hardest year of sports in my life for sure as a competitor, to just sit back and, you felt like you're better than some of the people that are playing. I mean, everybody is competitors. You feel like you're probably better than somebody that may be playing in front of you just from a competitive nature. But to sit back and watch that entire year, kind of like helpless and not do anything, that was the hardest year of football or sports ever for me because, Little League in high school, college, you're playing all the time. You're not sitting there watching and sitting back and doing nothing. You want to be out there competing. So that kind of shaped my whole outlook on everything. That was kind of like the realization that, this is a business. They're going to do what's best for the organization first. And they don't feel like you're ready to go, they're going to not put you in there and try and find somebody else to replace you. So
in that situation, because, you always had moments where you could play, participate, and help affect winning. But, during that time you weren't playing. What was, a decision that you made? We always talk about this segment of the show called Guns and Butter where, we discuss, a micro decision at that moment that seemed to have paid dividends in the end. So what do you think occurred during that time? Because you weren't playing, and once again, the end result is all Patriots, team and everything.
Like, I know I had to give my agents, like, a lot of credit as well. They would call me probably at least, like, every other week, be like, what's going on? Like, obviously, if you're not playing, like, you must not be doing the shit, like, like they're on that type of energy. They're like, you got to check yourself if you want to be out there playing. So, I mean, obviously, I was still practicing hard, and it still wasn't enough, obviously. So, coming into that next year, I was just like, all right, like if you want to be in the NFL, you better straighten your shit up, or you're gonna be out of the league that fast, and it could be gone in the snap of the finger. So, from that point, I had to, try to eat a little bit better, work on a different way of, honing my craft, figure out how to run routes better, figure out what they needed from me. Or, ask the coaches what they need to see from me coming into the next year, whether it's picking up blitzes, whether it's running the football, just trying to do everything possible so they pretty much couldn't say no. And that was kind of my mentality going to that next season.
I'm always intrigued by NFL players because I was pretty good at football. I was quarterback and receiver. But I'm just not built for that. My son is 6'5", 150 pounds, right? And I wasn't as tall as him at his age, but I was the same frame. I can't do that. And so I've always wondered, and you're a humble dude, too. So I'm watching Any Given Sunday. But there's so many different characters. Yeah. You got the receiver. We know how the receivers are. Yeah. The receivers are the receivers. They got them right. But then you have certain types of quarterbacks that can be different, and running backs can be different. But you seem like a very humble person. What's it like in your mind when you're super confident? When you're like, there's nothing anyone can do to stop me. Like, take me through what's going on in your head, because we would never know. Yeah, like Emmitt Smith was super. We knew what was going on in Emmitt's head. Like, he wasn't as humble. He had that swag to him. But what's going through your mind? Because you've done a whole lot, and you make it seem as if like I just went out and did my job.
It's just like, as an athlete, I think y'all probably know you just kind of get in the zone in a sense. It's like, I wouldn't say like you black out or anything, but it's like nobody is around but you and the person in front of you, or the people in front of you in a sense, and like everything just seems to be working. And it's those repetitions that you put in during the week or during all off season, your body just kind of takes over, and that's just kind of how I felt when I got in the zone, and that's when I got my confidence, just like nobody can fuck with me. And that's the mindset that I would have. Like, he may be a better athlete than me, he may be taller than me, he may be faster than me, but he's not going to stop me on this route on third down. That's the mindset that I'm going to have, like, going into it. And think you just have to have that complete confidence in yourself in order to go out there and have success.
It's funny, you know, obviously Bill Belichick said that you're one of the players that always, you know, you can almost always count on him to make the right decision each time. And, you know, to start off with, that kind of seems like the Patriot way. At what point did you think you started, you know, forming a level or performing at the Patriot way, or, you know, stop going from being like, oh my God, that's Tom Brady, to Tom speaking to you as a peer? You know, every time you see third down, they're going to you over, you know what I mean? Sometimes it was Edelman or Grant. They're going to you to go bring it home, or the Super Bowl game-winning touchdown. You feel me?
For me, I never wanted to be the player to let my team down. And I think that's just all from, like, growing up and things of that nature, just seeing how hard my parents, like, pushed themselves. And they felt like they didn't want to let us down as their sons, in a sense. So I feel like that's kind of like the mindset I had from high school, college. You probably ask, like, my running back coach from college or some of my running back teammates, they'd be like, you never mess up. Like, that's just, like, the mindset I had. I want to be the guy that could be counted on at all times. Doesn't mean, like, I never messed up at all, but I definitely did. Everybody fuck up at some point. But I just never wanted to have that feeling and look back on it like damn, that's like some simple shit I don't want to fuck it up for my teammates. At least it could be a physical error, like somebody, you know, cover me up on one play. That's going to happen. But, like, mentally wise, I never wanted to make mental mistakes because I feel like that's just preparation and something easy for myself.
And you know, how does it feel? Because it's similar to the Warriors, you know, 4 Super Bowls in 8 years. Do you get used to it? Because sometimes I just get, you know, numb to it all. Like, oh, we're going to the finals again. But everybody's excited. It's like, bro, like, it's whatever. Even my rings, I didn't know where they were at for like 3 or 4 years. Like, they were just underneath some clothes. I was like, hey, over there somewhere. And so, you know, how are you with those type of things, whether it be memorabilia or, you know, just your outlook on something that you've done a lot?
Mine just tucked away as well. I never really, you know, take my rings out really for pretty much anything. But you definitely get numb to it a little bit since you get to go there pretty often. But I think Belichick does a great job of keeping everybody humble. You know, from Tom to the undrafted free agent that's coming in that year, he holds everybody accountable. Each and every week is going to be practice clips, game clips on those Monday mornings, Wednesday mornings, you know, telling you how you fucked up, but he's at the same time he's going to tell you how you did well as well. So I think coming into my rookie year, their OTAs and him yelling at Tom during practice, he'd be like, oh shit, this shit for real. Like, he'd be like, we got our 2 supposed best fucking players can't complete a pass against fucking air. Like shit like that. Like shit like that. So it's like, and he watches like everything. It'd be like individual drills. Like if guys are slipping during individual drills, it's just like he's on top of every single thing and he's always watching. And I know they always talk about it. They may not always put it up there, but just that one time you're slacking, you come in there on that Monday morning, like, we're going to watch some individual drill from yesterday. And you got guys slipping all over the place, bad footwork, dropping the ball, and just he always held everybody accountable. I think that's what's the best thing about that organization. Everybody's going to be held accountable from the coaching staff, players, trainers, equipment managers. He's checking everybody. And I think that's what allowed us to have so much success throughout the years. Nobody could really get complacent because you're getting checked at the door every single day. And I think that's why, you know, organizations like the Warriors and things of that nature, they're able to sustain that success. It's hard because you got to keep guys, you know, in check and keep them in the right frame of mind if you're going to keep going to back-to-back championships. It's not easy.
Steph is that good. But I will say, you know, I played in Miami under Pat Riley. And we had a guest who wrote the book Blood in the Garden.
Yeah, Chris
Herron, and we got to see Pat Riley when we saw the HBO show about the Lakers, Showtime, and so you got to see Pat there, and then we read the book, which was Pat's entire time in the Knicks, and then obviously I played down in Miami for a year and a half under Pat Riley, and it's essentially that, you know. Everybody getting checked at the door. But when you first see it, it's like a little bit of a shock because it's, you know, where's the joy and everything. But when you leave and you can see a grand scope of the rest of the league, there's a reason why Pat Riley's had success everywhere he's been. Everywhere. And every 3 or 4 years, he's making a run at a title.
want to go back to something you said about memorabilia, because you forgot. You said you don't know where your rings are at. But were you forgetful, in shock, or like just numb? You scored the game-winning touchdown, and you left the ball in the end zone.
Yeah.
The ball went for like what? Like 6 figures. Like you need. So when they won a championship this year, Dre grabbed the ball and ran and got it to Steph. So I'm sure somebody ran and got the ball, but they might have took it to Tom.
I don't got that ball. I don't know where it's at, but I was definitely
Go through
in a sense kind of blacked out in a sense. In that moment, I was gone. I was just running across the end zone.
Bro,
I mean,
what was
I'm
that
talking
like
about that
to come
game.
back? Yeah,
No, talk about the game.
Yeah,
I turned the game.
25
I
down.
turned it off.
Yeah.
Man, they lost.
Yeah, so coming to the game, for myself, I knew I have an opportunity to make some plays because the head coach was the defensive coordinator for the Seahawks when we won my rookie year, and the running back had like 8 or 9 catches for like 99 yards. Shane Vereen at the time,
Yeah.
so they ran a similar scheme. So I knew I have an opportunity.
Yeah.
I was just saying.
I knew I had an opportunity to make some plays. Obviously, I didn't know I was going to have the game that I had, but obviously being down 28-3 and me being kind of like a pass protection and pass catching running back, I was going to be out on the field most of the time because we're going to have to throw to win the game.
Yeah.
So for us, obviously, that wasn't the game plan to be down that many damn points at that point. But we were moving the ball like we wanted to, but we have an interception or turn the ball over or miss a field goal. So just coming into halftime, there wasn't really any halftime adjustments. Just play better, like
down 25.
yeah. Down to it's simple. Like I mean, you down 25 points. There ain't really no coaching adjustment for that. It is just kind of play better. So that's essentially what we did. You just got to scratch and claw, try and find your way back into it. And for me, like going back to my rookie year, I didn't play that game. I had to sit on the sideline, inactive, and had to watch. So I always said if I got my opportunity to get out there on the field and play for my team, I'm gonna do whatever I can to help my team win. Obviously, it wasn't going that way at first, but I was still getting the ball almost every other play. I was just trying to be a viable option for Tom. And like I said, if we felt like if we could get it close, then we would win. And it took us on offense to make some plays. The defense had to come up with some huge plays. Like Hightower had the strip sack. That's kind of really what catapulted us there. But for myself, I was just competing as hard as possible just to find a way into it. And I was exhausted. That was the most exhausted I've ever
believe
been in any game for sure. Like even like 2 plays before I scored the game-winning touchdown, I was jogging off the field. And LeGarrette Blount was coming onto the field. I was thinking we were just gonna like run the ball in and score. I'm like, please, bro, just end the game. Like right now, I'm exhausted. But then I came back in like 2 plays later. They tossed and I was like, I gotta score right now. Like I gotta end this. I'm exhausted. This thing. Like please. And then I scored. Just like I said, I wasn't even thinking about the ball. I just started running across the end zone. I don't even know what I was doing. LeGarrette Blount came running like a 4-1 across the field. He tackled me.
That's a big boy. That's a big boy.
Yeah, so
And you created like 20 points of offense that game. That was a Super Bowl record. That's lit, bro. You was tired as hell. You earned it for sure. What was time like during that game? You always want to hear these moments of, it was one of the greatest comebacks, and Tom's super cool. He's supposed to be like a competitor. Mm-hmm. What was he like under pressure in those moments? Like, what did you learn from those situations?
From him, he didn't really say too much, honestly. I think we had a lot of veteran guys on our team at that time, so I feel like he's a little bit more vocal when there's a younger group of guys or guys who may not have been there. But for us, we kind of stayed cool, calm, and collected. He would do his usual walk up the sideline, just stay locked up, stay locked in, let's get things going, that type of thing. But it wasn't really much of a motivational speech, and you just kind of see it in his eyes in a sense. Nothing really had to be said. He just laser focused. Like obviously he had the pick 6 earlier on in the game.
Yeah, that was
and
fair.
It happens, and you kind of got the great people. They're able to put that thing behind them and turn the page and move forward. And I think that's kind of what he did. That's what all of us kind of did. I know LeGarrette had a fumble in the game, but you got to put it past you, and we got to move forward. I think that's why he's the greatest in a sense, because there's so much that can happen. Early on points in the game, he kind of turns the page, moves forward, and everybody knows what's going to happen if you let it get close and the ball's in his hands to end the football game, because he's ready for those moments. He's prepared for those moments, and that was kind of one of those moments right there. Just dialed in all game long, making those throws in tight windows where most guys can't make it in those situations or may not have the confidence to make it in those situations. I think that's what makes him the best, and he demands the best out of everybody who's in that huddle with him. If you're not going to be at your best, you're not going to be out there on the football field. If he don't trust you, you're probably not going to be in the huddle unless guys are hurt or something. You got to be in the huddle. But he demands that respect, and you got to earn his respect. And I think for me, that was what as a young player, you try and earn that guy's respect, and that's what you want from a veteran guy.
And I kind of want to change the conversation into business. So with football, obviously the incident that occurred a couple weeks ago on the field, the Bills game, and our union's always having discussions with NFLPA. We're always discussing ways that we can help you guys or ways you can help us. So Dominique came and spoke to one of our CBA meetings because we were heading into a lockout. A lockout did occur. This is 2011, right? So a lockout did happen. We started that season later, on Christmas. And I remember one thing he said to us: do not give up guaranteed contracts. Yeah. Now, we knew that. Yeah. That was a no-brainer. Yeah. But for you all, considering what you go through, literally, your life is on the line. Yeah. Like, that's not like a metaphor. Like, no, this is real. Yeah. Talk to me kind of how your thought process changed about the game the older you got, the more knowledge you got, just the surroundings, the things you saw. What are your thoughts just on the business and the players at risk in football?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot that goes in with it, and I know everybody. You start to see some players get guaranteed contracts now, but it definitely should be universal. Everybody should get that because football, there's so much turnover. Your career, the average career is like 3 to 4 years. Yeah. So, if guys guarantee that money for them, it'd be a benefit. I know it's probably going to be really hard because the number of guys that are on the roster. Right. And the way owners and GMs like to move guys every single week here and there, back and forth, practice squad, active roster. But I think we just as a union have to do a better job of finding ways to get guys more guaranteed money because it's a dangerous game. When you're in it, you don't really think about it too much. But when you get towards the back end of your career, you start thinking about a little bit more about how you can protect yourself a little bit better. And for myself, and especially after watching the Damar Hamlin situation, like your heart kind of stops for him. It's just like, man, I was just out on the football field. That could have happened to me. I think that's why a lot of guys' emotions were very high watching that. And it's just tough, man. And for myself, like that's something I'm definitely interested in doing. Maybe probably becoming part of like NFLPA or something like that, fighting for, better rights for the players because it's very, very dangerous. I know obviously that situation is a slim chance that it can happen, but it can happen to anybody at any given time. You never really know. I know that situation was very unique, but it definitely was tough to watch for sure. But
yeah, we were even talking about who's my man in Lamar Jackson. Yeah. In terms of if he should play or not. Yeah. And then we saw what happened to RG3. Yeah. And I even tweeted to him, "Hey man, don't play champ."
I thought RG3's post was unbelievable too when he showed the example of it. But I think the number one thing that's pretty crazy that came from Damar Hamlin's situation was like, we're giving the Bills a standing ovation for guaranteeing his contract. And then he guaranteed it's like, bro, $1 billion. It's only $3 million. Like, no disrespect to anybody, but like, we're giving snaps on a contract, and literally that day, how much money did they make off that game he played in?
True story.
And like, we're giving snaps. I'm like, the fuck, like this for what? This is the most vicious sport. Like, is there lots of talks or like ways, I know we keep summing it up and keep trying to go towards it to get guaranteed, but, what type of, way do you think you can go about it besides?
It's just all the players are going to have to fight for it. The next time the CBA is up, they're going to have to come together and fight for it, essentially be like, we're not going to play in a sense until that happens. I think that's the only way it's going to happen, but it's going to be hard to kind of unify that many number of players to agree with that because – you have younger guys who need money in a sense of their first year or things of that nature, don't have money saved to be in that position. But it's hard. I don't know the exact way to do it, but I think everybody kind of has to use their brain to find a way to make it happen because a guy like Lamar Jackson, he should have a guaranteed contract. Yeah. He's one of the most electric players in the NFL. Yeah. If I was him, I probably wouldn't even play this year. He was bold for stepping on the field this year. And for guys it was hard to see even like Mike Vick going out there saying that he should have put a brace on it and go out there and play on Sunday or whatever day they played on.
He was Vic.
He run with them.
But it's been a couple of Vic things that have made me very nervous. Yeah. I hope they ain't get him. Y'all know what I mean.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but then even going deeper into the business of it all, I have some things invested that is, the NFL has success. The company I've invested in has a lot of success. But I also understand, African Americans make up the majority of the league, but there's only how many African American owners? There are none.
None.
How
it's a boys' club.
Is that spoken about in the locker rooms as well?
I think for a lot of younger guys, probably not, because I feel like younger guys make up the majority of the roster, obviously. But for older guys, probably conversations that you have like at the lunch table, things of that nature. But there definitely has to be more, I guess, how would you say it, of a presence of African Americans at the top for sure, because it's an owner-ran league. If there's, I think it'll take for maybe like a former player or something to like somehow be a partial owner or some things of that nature to kind of step in and fight for us. It's hard to go. I mean, obviously the owners are in control at this point. I know the NBA, the players did a great job of kind of taking control kind of over the league, but
we still got a
lot to work with.
I mean, but you still have to turn tricks. It's only 400 players in the league, but sometimes like you get to the union, you gotta hold the escrow check, like license check.
Yeah, we gotta hold checks. Hey, like y'all, we not giving out these checks. So y'all come to this meeting. Come on.
With the NFL, it's just so many players with so many different opinions. I mean, honestly, some guys just don't care either. So
we had that.
They just want their check and they're good. So it's hard, and we just got to find a way. I mean, just like showing up to meetings to even talk about things that nature, probably more than half the league probably won't show up. So it's hard.
You got billionaires going against millionaires, the perception of everything, and just kind of. What was your thoughts on the JayZ getting involved the way he has? Colin Kaepernick situation is kind of died down. Jerry Jones saying, none of my players better kneel, but then they forgave him for being 14 and aware. Saying they don't want, right. So he wasn't aware, but at the same time, you see young African Americans get tried as adults at 12 and 13 years old.
It's definitely a lot in that situation. I remember, me and some of my teammates, we took a knee after President Trump came out and was saying that no player should take a knee, or he was talking.
Sons of bitches.
He said that type of thing. I forgot exactly what he said. I know a group of my teammates, we took a knee during the game. I'm pretty sure it was the first game of the year, things of that nature, and our fans booed us and whatnot. But for myself, I felt like in that situation we had to show our support for what he was standing up in. I mean, you didn't have to take a knee in order to show the support for him, but I felt like we should have did a better job of vocally supporting him for what he was trying to do. And it's hard to to build that courage to go against the grain and speak out. For a lot of young people as well, because you don't want to lose your job. You don't know what repercussions you're going to face.
Correct.
And it's definitely difficult. But definitely the owners are held to a different standard. They can kind of get things swept under the rug pretty fast, but it's hard, man. It's
but the
tough
Colin situation is unique because your father, rest in peace, he was a police officer, correct? So during that time, like, what's your point of view from it? Because you had both sides and everything, and
I understand both sides, and my dad understood both sides. There's racism within the police department. There's things that he dealt with on a daily basis, being a black police officer. So I've had conversations with him about the whole situation. He understood, my point of view on it, and like I said, he believed in what I was standing up for, and he was happy that I took a knee in support of that because, like I said, he grew up, back in the day when things were very racial, and obviously he still dealt with things, before he passed away with racial things, trying to get him fired for what he was doing in the police department. So I definitely had seen both sides of that situation, my dad being a police officer and, obviously what Colin Kaepernick was standing up for, because race is still an issue in this world, and I think it probably forever will be, because it's hard I think we just have to do a better job as a country, trying to learn one another, not not kind of tolerate, but you got to learn about one another. I think that's the biggest thing. I feel like a lot of people are racist because they just don't know. Yeah. And I think we got to do a better job of learn about one another, getting to know one another. You know, like everybody says, have those uncomfortable conversations. Like I know whenever like I talk to youth or high school, I always say like get to know somebody that you're not, you know, necessarily friends with, or go sit at a different lunch table that you wouldn't sit at, because like I said, you never know who you may become friends with just because they're different. You know, they may like a different subject, they have a different hair color, they have, you know, different skin. It doesn't really matter. Just get to know that person, and you may build a friend for life. You may, I don't know, just there's so much as a world that we could do better as to learn one another, just be better on a day-to-day basis.
Greedy. I think that's
that
the root
too,
of it all.
that
Is the root
too.
of it all. But I think I read something that kind of opened my eyes to specifically what you just said was we're getting dumber because we're only interacting with folks that are like-minded. And so we built factions. It's almost like they become the Hunger Games in real life, right? We've all only gravitated towards folks who listen to what we listen to, read what we listen to, you know, agree with everything we say, and then anything outside that realm is like we're at war with them. And so now everyone's so spread apart when you need to do the exact opposite. So, you know, I appreciate that, Jim. You seem to have a lot of knowledge and, you know, just a lot of success in everything that you've done. So I would like to know, you know, 5 to 10 years, you know, what's life after football look like for you? What are some of your goals, and, you know, how you plan on going about it?
For me right now, I'm trying to get into broadcasting. I do a radio show with Sirius XM on Wednesday mornings with Solomon Wilcots. I've called a few NFL games on radio throughout the year. I did like a little podcast, you know, after Patriot games. So that's what I'm trying to get into right now. I also have like my own foundation where I provide partial college scholarships to, you know, at-risk, you know, kids or people who don't have money, things of that nature. So, and I also love shoes too. I love to one day open my own shoe store. That's a thing I love to do too. Obviously, if my wife allows me to do that. But
You hear similarities in here now? If my wife allows me
That's
to.
lit, man.
yeah, happy wife, happy life. That don't.
There we go. Hey, and I'm glad y'all got the concept. I'm glad y'all grasped that concept, man. Dre does a great job of being a good husband that listens.
I try.
So I'm trying to hopefully one day get like him.
You don't want to be like me.
That's cool. Well, man, James, we appreciate you, you know, hopping on, obviously.
Yeah, no.
We appreciate you. I was about to say, yeah, we appreciate you, you know, stopping by, giving us a lot of your time, and, you know, telling us your story. It's definitely been a big fan, everything you've done, and, you know, thanks for being such a humble, down-to-earth dude with a great story. So we appreciate you for real.
I appreciate y'all having me. Like I said, I watch y'all too. I ain't gonna say growing up because I don't want to make y'all feel old.
Yeah, I'm sure. We low-key.
We were almost in college around the
school.
same time,
Yeah.
but like I said, I used to kill people in 2K with you when you played for the
all
Nuggets.
all the time.
Yeah.
I'm on like the all-2K team.
Yeah, for real,
like,
definitely.
Like random players you can't lose with.
That's crazy.